On that day, Jesus went out of his house and sat down by the sea. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood along the shore. And he spoke to them at length in parables, saying, A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell on the path, and birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky ground where it had little soil. It sprang up at once because the soil was not deep. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and it withered for lack of roots. Some seed fell among the thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it. But some seed fell on rich soil and produced fruit, 100 or 60 or 30-fold. Whoever has ears ought to hear. The disciples approached him and said, Why do you speak to them in parables? He said to them in reply, Because knowledge of the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven has been granted to you, but to them it has not been granted. To anyone who has, more will be given, and he will grow rich. From anyone who has not, even what he thinks he has will be taken away. This is why I speak to them in parables, because they look but do not see, and hear but do not listen or understand. It really doesn't matter as far as, it doesn't fit exactly. I just have always been very, very, very thankful that Jesus uses a lot of parables, because for me, I have some communication issues, and when people directly describe something and use all the right words to describe it exactly, it's harder for me to understand it. But I understand things in parables much better. It's easier for me to explain things in that way, like using a parable. Well, it's like this or it's like that. And so I just like that Jesus uses parables, because it's so much easier for me to understand concepts that if you use the actual, like textbook style description of them, I might not understand them. But when you give me a story to set it beside, I kind of go, oh, okay, I get it now. But Isaiah's prophecy is fulfilled in them, which says, You shall indeed hear, but not understand. You shall indeed look, but never see. Gross is the heart of this people. They will hardly hear with their ears. They have closed their eyes, lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and be converted, and I heal them. Yeah, there's a lot there, but blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. Amen. I say to you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. Hear then the parable of the sower, the seed sown on the path. The seed sown on the path is the one who hears the word of the kingdom without understanding it. Oh, that's interesting. And the evil one comes and steals away what is sown in his heart. I guess to me, I kind of wonder, like, the without understanding it. To understand, one thing I will say I've experienced a lot of, because of my, I'm going to just call it a neurological difference, because I don't know what even to call it. But when I communicate, I have a lot of difficulty, especially with like the medical stuff, or like the systems or people, bureaucracy type stuff. I have a lot of difficulty understanding and communicating. And I will say things and say things and say things and say things, and people just don't understand me. And I have realized that there is one ingredient that if someone is going to understand me, there has to be this one thing that comes first, and that is there has to be a desire to understand me. And people are busy and it's inconvenient, so they just kind of like, but there's been one or two instances, um, like in those fronts where somebody was really genuinely taking the time to understand me and trying to understand me, because I don't always choose the right words. Um, like I said, it's easier for me to talk in parables than it is to, because I just have a tendency to pick wrong words, and it makes people um, think they understand what I'm talking about, and they don't. And but so it's like, for this, if people do not really want to understand it, like so it can't really land in your heart until you are open to it and like legitimately trying to understand it, even if you haven't decided whether or not you want to accept it, just really trying to understand it. um, the seed sown on the rocky ground is the one who hears the word and receives it at once with joy, but he has no root and lasts only for a time. When some tribulation or persecution comes because of the word, he immediately falls away. The seed sown among thorns is the one who hears the word, but then the worldly anxiety and the lure of riches choke the word, and it bears no fruit. But the seed sown in rich soil is the one who hears the word and stands it, who indeed bears fruit and yields 100 or 60 or 30-fold. He proposed another parable to them. The kingdom of heaven is likened to a man who sowed good seed in his field. While everyone was asleep, the enemy came in and sowed weeds. I remember I circled this because the actual description of the type of weed that was sown was interesting to me, because it's basically, it's a weed that really looks very, very much like wheat. And so it's very difficult to differentiate between the weeds and the wheat, you know. All through the so sowed weeds all through the wheat and then went off. When the crop grew and bore fruit, the weeds appeared as well. The slaves of the household came and said to him, Master, did you not sow good seed in your field? Where have the weeds come from? He answered, An enemy has done this. His slaves said to him, Do you want us to go and pull them up? He replied, No, if you pull up the weeds, you might uproot the wheat along with them. Let them grow together until the harvest. Then at the harvest, uh, then at the harvest time, I will say to the harvesters, First collect the weeds, and tie them in bundles for burning, but gather the wheat into my barn. He proposed another parable to them. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that a person took and sowed in the field. It is the smallest of all seeds, yet when it is grown, it is the largest of plants. It becomes a large bush, and the birds of the sky come and dwell in its branches. He spoke to them in another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like yeast that a woman took and mixed in 3 measures of wheat flour until the whole batch was leavened. All these things Jesus spoke to the crowds in parables. He spoke to them only in parables, to fulfill what had been said through the prophets. I will open my mouth in parables. I will announce what is lain hidden from the foundation of the world. Then, dismissing the crowds, he went into the house. His disciples approached him and said, Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field. He said in reply, He who sows good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed, the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one. And the enemy who sows them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. Just as the weeds are collected and burned up with fire, so will it be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send his angels, and they will collect out of his kingdom all who cause others to sin, and all evildoers. They will throw them into the fiery furnace where there will be wailing and grinding of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Whoever has ears ought to hear. I think one of the things about this to me, the wheat looking, or the weeds and the wheat looking alike, is as I have really wrestled with a lot of things among like the things that I see in churches and just a lot of things that do not jive with what I read in the Bible and all of that is just that, or the things like, um, well, that's too long to explain. But basically, there's just been some things that have made me realize, like, I can't assume anything about anybody else. Um, I can't assume that all the people at my church are saved and sanctified or whatever you want to call it. Like, and the reason but I'm not to be suspicious of it either. That's not my goal at all. What I mean is that because I grew up in the church and I grew up with in the kind of Pentecostal type of setting, right? And for me, there was a lot of fear, and I was really scared about things like I wasn't going to make the cut, and when I was little, especially. But I remember using other people around me as a measuring rod when that's not appropriate to do. But also, it's not appropriate to do because in another way, like not just that we shouldn't be doing that, judging ourselves by other people that are around us, but like I don't really know what's in their heart. I don't know if they're weed or if they're wheat, and so I can't just be like, well, okay, since Pastor Guy over there seems to be in the same boat I am, and I guess I'm all right, because I don't know if Pastor Guy over there is, really somebody to be followed or if he is a wolf that's snuck in the fold. I don't know. Or a weed, I guess, if I'm keeping the same metaphor. Anyways, but I just think that's interesting.